Getting guns back on the streets, a controversial nonprofit that's doing just that, and a sweeping overhaul of the state's education system, what it means for your kids. Plus, a local church has returned from Oklahoma after delivering supplies for the cleanup efforts. 6 News Tonight starts right now.
Live from the Beaulieu Broadcast Center, you're watching KFDM 6 News Tonight at 10 in high definition.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Ashley Gaston. Kelly has the night off. More on that story in just a few minutes, but first, gun control activists across the country have worked to get guns off the streets. But one Texas nonprofit is doing the exact opposite. Their goal? To educate and arm citizens in high crime areas. And they launched their efforts this weekend in Houston. Kevin Reese has more.
When we go to load it, go ahead, pick it up.
Erin Daniels was the first woman to sign up for the program. Today she started with a 20-gauge shotgun, even though most of her life she'd never shot a gun before.
Not really. I mean, like, I paintballed and airsoft guns, but no, not really.
But now 20-gauge or 12-gauge, she's ready.
All right.
Yes, that sound is the universal language for I'm armed, stay away, or else. Yeah.
She's part of the Armed Citizens Project started by Kyle Copeland earlier this year, training women to defend themselves and training residents of the Oak Forest neighborhood of Houston, also for free, to have a shotgun at the ready when trouble comes calling. Copeland started the program after Oak Forest veteran Elbert Wood's home was vandalized by 2 teenagers.
That night, after visiting his home, I started thinking what we as society could do to deter home invasion crimes.
Gun control advocates say they have stats in their favor that argue more guns equals more gun problems. Copeland stats argue the opposite.
Well, it's our hypothesis that criminals have no intention of dying in your hallway, and we think that society should use that fear to deter crime.
He's trained 35 new gun owners like Erin so far and predicts he'll have 100 new gun owners in Oak Forest soon.
I feel completely confident that if I'm home and something does happen, I know right where my gun is. You know, I can go and get it. I can defend myself. I won't be helpless, and hopefully I can get rid of whoever's trying to bother me.
Council members in Jasper have fired a police department dispatcher who is charged with assaulting her boyfriend. Council voted today to fire 31-year-old Lindsay Davenport. Police charged her with assault, family violence, and resisting arrest. Davenport is free on bond. Last week, Jasper Council fired her boyfriend, Ryan Cunningham, and a second officer accused of using too much force to take a woman into custody May 5th. This is surveillance video from the police department showing the officers during that arrest. Davenport is in the background. She is not accused of doing anything wrong when the woman was taken into custody. The woman is pursuing a civil lawsuit. The district attorney's office is investigating what happened during the arrest. So far, it has not filed any criminal charges against the 2 men. Today, the Jasper City Council voted to hire a new dispatcher to replace Davenport, 3 new officers, and a new jailer. After 3 years of efforts, cleanup work is ending in 3 of the states affected by the BP oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico. The London-based oil company said today the Coast Guard is concluding active cleanup operations in Mississippi, Alabama, and Florida, but the work still continues along the 84 miles of Louisiana shoreline. BP has spent more than $14 billion on cleanup efforts with more than 48,000 people involved. Big changes are coming to Texas school education after the governor signed into law a much-wanted high school curriculum overhaul that cuts the number of standardized tests for high schoolers from 15 to 5. Today, Governor Perry signed into law 2 bills. Both new laws provide flexibility to make sure students can graduate high school and be prepared for college or trade school. Perry said today that this is not about weakening standards, but striking a balance for all students.
If there's one thing to remember today, it's that Texas refuses to dilute our academic standards in any way because our standards are working.
The changes come as Texas announced that only 54.3% of ninth graders in the state passed their English STAR exam. Rick Perry has been to California and Illinois, and now the governor is headed to New York and Connecticut on a tour to bring jobs to Texas. He's headed there to convince employers to move to the Lone Star State, which features low taxes and low regulation. Along with the tour, the campaign also includes more than $1 million in television spots in those states. While the United States Senate debates whether to pass widespread immigration reform in Washington, a tour bus full of nuns has been crisscrossing the U.S. since late May, encouraging people to demand new immigration laws at every stop. The bus rolled through Texas yesterday. This stop was part of a 21-day, 6,500-mile trip that started on the East Coast and ends in San Francisco. As Dylan Collier reports, the nuns' message: it's time to push immigration reform through Congress.
Talk about it in terms that people can understand.
We say raise your hands, raise your voice for comprehensive immigration reform now.
Before a welcoming crowd on San Antonio's south side, a message of hope from nuns on an exhausting coast-to-coast journey. Their goal to help pave the road to citizenship for more than 11 million people.
What we know is we, the people, are going to demand it.
Lawmakers in attendance say the South Texas economy will only benefit if updated immigration laws go into effect.
They really do help power 4 or 5 major Texas and American industries, and it's easy to overlook that.
A system that expands and contracts with the market is something that we desperately need, and hopefully immigration reform will get us that.
The next stop for the nuns and the halfway point of the journey, Laredo.
Volunteer firefighters say they need more state funding, and a new bill would divert some money they say was originally intended for them. Texas lawmakers decided to send $18.5 million for the next 2 years to the Texas A&M Forest Service, who would send out grants to volunteer fire departments. But the State Firemen's and Fire Marshals Association of Texas says that's not enough to fend off a dry spring and a hot summer. We've certainly seen our fair share of heat in Southeast Texas. Could triple-digit temperatures be on the horizon? Greg Bostwick joins us now with a first look of the forecast. Greg?
Well, actually, I don't think that'll be a problem here. It's going to be hot enough, though. Mid-90s, certainly in the forecast later in the week. A lot of scattered showers again in our area, mainly because of the moisture coming in off the Gulf of daytime heating. A lot of showers out in the Gulf of Mexico actually in itself, but those showers have faded away and moved off to the northeast. And we have enough moisture, I think, tomorrow to generate 1 or 2 showers in our forecast tomorrow. The main story is going to be high pressure building in and the temperature heading upwards. We'll have how hot it will be this week ahead in just a few minutes.
A Southeast Texas church has returned home after taking a special delivery to victims of the Oklahoma tornado and more. Pastor Bruce Lockett of the First Pentecostal Church of Vidor shares pictures his members took of the destruction. Pastor Lockett describes the homes as being put in a blender. He and his church members delivered not only food, water, and medical supplies, but also hope and love, Lockett says. He says the destruction was so damaging, he compared it to Hiroshima. Pastor Lockett says if anything, it should teach us to be thankful for life, remembering the 7 children who died.
Just to see a block away, nothing touched, and come across the street, everything completely demolished. It's just, it leaves you heartbroken for them. Went to one of the houses.
Church members delivered more than $2,300 in gift cards. They plan to make another trip to Oklahoma in about a month. They're already collecting supplies. Houston police have seen plenty of murder cases over the years, but a murder over the weekend has a unique murder weapon. 44-year-old Anna Trujillo is accused of fatally stabbing a man with her stiletto heel in a high-rise condo in Houston's posh museum district. A neighbor called police early this morning after hearing a fight. Trujillo answered the door to the 18th floor apartment when officers arrived. That's when they found the 59-year-old man's body, who had been stabbed multiple times. Houston police have identified the man as Alf Stefan Anderson, a prominent research professor with the University of Houston. The 59-year-old lived in the apartment, but investigators say Trujillo was visiting. Their relationship is unknown. Coming up later in our 6 on Health Report, it affects more than 20 million Americans a year, and now a new surgery is giving hope to those with cataracts. And coming up next, put down the iPad, why some tech giants are saying your information is safe with them.